These are the best VR games ranked by their genre in 2025. Now, there's a ton of games that I have on this list, so let's hop straight into it and not waste any time. Coming in with the best VR shooter game. What game has the best graphics, map design, gun mechanics, and gameplay? What game has the best and most friendly community and the most amount of frequent updates? And most importantly, what game keeps you coming back to the action? For me, no game does that better than Breachers VR. Now, Breachers VR is a 5v5 tactical shooter game. It is very strategic and very competitive in the EA and VRML sports. Breachers VR has a ton of maps and game modes to choose from. There are a ton of different gadgets and guns to play with, and overall the community is very friendly and highly active. There's not a single time where I've really seen the community be extremely toxic in Breachers, especially when compared to Pavlov VR. Now, like I was saying, Breachers VR is the Rainbow Six Siege of VR. So it gets your blood pumping, and there's a ton of destructible environments that you can play around with, such as destructible walls, roofs, hatches, and even doors. And don't forget, there's a ton of gadgets to help you and your team infiltrate the compound or defend it. This is a game that I highly recommend you choose to play and that you consider actually purchasing the game for $30, as it will offer you a ton of gameplay and fun adventures. Now, I do want to give a quick honorable mention to Tactical Assault VR and Contractor Showdown, two other games that I highly recommend you choose to play. When it comes to the best story game, there's no doubt that Batman Arkham Shadow is at the top of my list, with Metro Awakening falling just a little bit behind. Graphics, map design, gameplay, combat, and story are all so well done, so immersive, incredibly polished. Just take combat for example. It is so smooth, so fluid, it makes you feel so badass when you're able to defeat a group of enemies, or a horde of enemies for that matter. Everything is so well done. The map design is unbelievable, it's incredible. Like, for example, every edge, every turn that you make in the game, there's always that little Easter egg, there's always that little detail that it's kind of, you can appreciate. You can always appreciate that small little detail that they put into the game. Graphics is really, really good. Like, I'm surprised how this is able to run on the Quest alone. And the gameplay, there's always action going into Batman Arkham Shadow and Metro Awakening. There's not really a single time where I can say, oh, I'm bored, there's nothing to do. There's a lot of things to do. And the game is also not that difficult. And it has a decent length to it. It's not too long, it's also not too short. It's very well made. The difficulty, the length of the story, it's just perfect for a VR game. Because of that, I have to put this at my top spot. Not to mention, both of these games were able to go on the top of the list when it comes to Game of the Year award. I mean, if that's not enough to prove to you that these games are absolutely amazing, I don't know what is. When it comes to social games, VR chat is at the top of my list. You can hang out with people, you can socialize, you can create different worlds, you can basically do anything. It's endless what you can do. Make a bunch of mini games, game modes, visit different universes, worlds, maps. It's so cool that you can just create anything and almost everything and share that with your friends, share that experience with other people around the world. That's the best part, I believe, about VR chat. There's an endless possibilities you can do. You can also customize your avatars, make anything that you really want your own. Now, if you don't want to be playing these mini games or game modes with other people, you can always just sit back on the couch, relax, and watch a movie with those people instead of just playing mini games and game modes. This allows you to just relax even furthermore, watch movies in 3D, just chillax, have a blast watching a nice movie that you would usually go and watch at the actual real-life cinema. This is the best part about social games, that you can really do a lot of things, hang out with people from across the world and watch movies, play games. It's endless what you can do, and all these movies are available in 10 different countries, and you have some of these top movies like Interstellar going on. It's honestly amazing what you can do in VR chat and in big screen cinema, which is why these are at the top of my list and they deserve top 2. If you're looking for a horror game that will give you chilling goosebumps and that will constantly be giving you jump scares, there is no doubt that Phasmophobia and Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted will deliver that experience. Both of these games are horror. They are the best definition of horror games. They will scare you. There's a ton of jump scares, ton of different maps and game modes that you can choose from, and it has good replayability. And you can always choose your difficulty. I'm pretty sure you can play with other players as well. Specifically in Phasmophobia is what I'm talking about. So this game is like one that will definitely scare you and that will definitely get your blood pumping, but it's a very well made game. Not a lot of glitches, not a lot of bugs, and it only costs around $20 from what I saw. So very well made game. If you really want to get jump scared and you really want to get some nightmares, then Phasmophobia and Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted will deliver. If you're looking for a moddable game, then Bone Labs is a great choice. It offers a ton of creativity and it pushes your imagination to its limits. There is pretty much an endless amount of possibilities when it comes to what you can do in Bone Labs. The physics in this game are absolutely amazing, and the graphics are pretty darn good for running on a standalone quest. On top of that, if you do get bored of the modding and physics-based playground, you can always hop in to the campaign, and which lasts around 6 to 7 hours in terms of length. However, there is a bit of a problem that I do have with Bone Labs, and that is variety of content. This is a big issue that Bone Labs has, and it's kind of the reason why it gets a 6.5 out of 10 in the Metacritic reviews or a 7 out of 10 from Steam reviews. It's a variety of content that Bone Lab lacks, because outside of the bubble of modding and physics-based playgrounds, there really isn't much else to do. I mean, you have the campaign, which is 6 hours long, but it's not that great. I mean, it's okay at best. It's not amazing, it's not super fun, but it's definitely something there to have. It's just, I feel like besides that, there really isn't much else to do, and a lot of people feel the same way with Bone Labs. After you get out of that modding and physics-based playground circle, the only thing that's really left to do is the campaign. And if you've already completed the campaign or you don't like the campaign, there's nothing else to do for you. And that's the problem with Bone Labs. However, this is where Blade and Sorcerer Nomad does a far better job. Not only does it offer incredible modding support, it also offers really good physics, good graphics, and an incredible story, an incredible Crystal Hunt campaign mode. On top of that, it also has different game modes and an arena battle that you can do. It's incredible what you can do in Blade and Sorcery, and it also costs $10 less than Bone Labs. So that's also another plus that Blade and Sorcery Nomad has, and it's kind of the reason I have to put it in number 1 over Bone Lab for best moddable game, and it's also the best sword fighting game currently available. So not only is Blade and Sorcery Nomad covering the best moddable category, but it's also covering the best sword fighting game. And because of this, it's going to go in number 1. If you are looking for the best roguelike game, then there's no doubt that Underdogs should be at the top of your list. This game is basically like a 3-in-1 combo. There's multiple things that you can do in this game, from the story mode, which is a permadeath only run, which basically puts you into the cyber futuristic punk world where you have to fight to the death in this gladiator-like arena using a mech that you can upgrade, modify, and customize to fit your needs so that you can get through the arena and get to the top. Or whether it's going into the sandboxer mode, which is basically a bunch of community mods and arenas and maps. It's the closest you'll get to modding without actually modding. So if you like that, if you like modding and creativity, then this is one way of enjoying the game as well. And on top of that, if you don't want to do either of that, then you can always go into the Rampage mode, which is basically like an endless mode that you can compete in the leaderboards and see how far you can get in the arena when you have an endless amount of enemies coming at you. The best part about this game is that it only costs $30 and it tends to go on sale. So I highly recommend you pick this game up. It is a ton of fun and it's also a great exercise. You'll get your arms definitely pretty fit real quickly with this game. And because of that, I have to put it at number 1 with some honorable mentions going to Until You Fall and Light Brigade. If you are looking for an absolutely incredible RPG dungeon crawling experience, then look no further into Dungeons of Eternity. This is peak of what you would call an RPG game in VR. There are tons of different maps, content, gameplay, parkour, and the sound effects. They're all just incredibly well done. There's nothing really wrong about this game or something bad that I can say about this game. And the price that you have to pay for this game is only $30. It's an absolute steal. Even the graphics are honestly pretty darn good. The multiplayer, there's multiplayer and single player capability, so if you want to play with friends, you can always do that. Or if you want to play alone and do some dungeon crawling by yourself, you can do that as well. The enemies are completely unique in accordance to each and every map, and there's different types of difficulties and different types of loot that you can collect. You can choose to be a warrior, or you can choose to be a mage, or you can choose to be a healer and a supporter for your team. It all depends on what you want to do, and you can do that in Dungeons of Eternity. There's pretty much nothing better than Dungeons of Eternity when it comes to RPG games. And because of this, I have to put it at number 1. There really is no other second or third place. Now, I know we already went over the best sword fighting games, that being Blade and Sorcery Nomad. However, I still feel that we should cover a second place winner, that being Battletown. Now, Battletown is similar to Blade and Sorcery Nomad. However, there are a couple key differences that we need to talk about. The first thing being that Battletown has a lot of fantasy creatures. You're mostly going to be fighting fantasy creatures as opposed to humans, which you'll see in Blade and Sorcery Nomad. So characters and enemies are going to be a bit different. Second thing is that Battletown has built-in multiplayer support, as opposed to Blade and Sorcery just having multiplayer as a mod or an attachment to the game, which just makes it a lot more convenient to use and play. Now, the third thing is combat. Now, Battletown's combat isn't necessarily terrible, however, it's a lot more slower paced. The only exception being when you're fighting bosses. Bosses in Battletown do have a lot of fast-paced attacks as opposed to Blade and Sorcery Nomad. However, at the end of the day, most of the times, a lot of the combat is going to be much faster paced for Blade and Sorcery Nomad than for Battletown. So just keep that in mind when you're playing both of these games. I highly recommend both of these games. They're absolutely incredible, and I would highly recommend checking them out. The Battletown currently costs around $20 and will tend to go on sale for around $16, while Blade and Sorcery Nomad costs $30 and can go on sale for around $20. So just keep these in mind, and again, I recommend these games a lot. When it comes to VR flight simulators, there really isn't one flight simulator that does it all. However, VTOL VR does it the best. There's a ton of content and gameplay in VTOL VR, and there's a bunch of different planes that you can fly. Dogfights feel incredibly immersive. There's a tons of different missions that you can do, whether that's air, land, or sea. And on top of that, the game doesn't take up a lot of storage and doesn't cost a lot of money. The best part about VTOL VR is that you don't have to buy a joystick to play this game, unlike DCS or Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. You can use your Quest controllers with VTOL VR, and it doesn't require a lot of hassle to set up in VR. On top of that, the game is easy to learn. While it does have there are some things that do involve a bit of a learning curve, it's not too hard to get into. And it's incredibly fun and very, very well made. Graphics and map design are not amazing, but they're also not terrible. Map design is pretty well done, and graphics, while not amazing, again, they could be a bit better, but they are not terrible for VR. Really, they're actually pretty darn good. So because of all of this, I have to put it at number 1. Engaging gameplay, loads of content, and an incredible amount of different types of missions and aircrafts make this at my number 1 choice for VR flight simulators. When it comes to the best fitness game, there is no doubt that Thrill of the Fight 2 is at the top of my list. There is so much content that is going to come out in the future with this game, and the replayability is just incredible. Currently, it's in early access, so don't expect the game to be perfect. However, you can expect a ton of new features and game modes coming out in the near future. On top of that, physics and combat is incredibly well done. This is one of the best boxing games I've ever tried, and the fact that it's only in early access just means that there's so much more potential out of this game. On top of that, Thrill of the Fight 2 only costs $10, and for $10, this is a pretty darn good deal, and you can always help support the devs just with that small amount of money. On top of that, it has a decently active player base, and on top of that, the combat and everything just feels very fluid and smooth. There's really nothing wrong with this game that I can say is terrible. Obviously, don't expect it to be perfect. Again, you might encounter a couple of bugs here and there, but it's not terrible. Next, we have Les Mills Body Combat, and this is a pretty darn good game. It's sort of similar to FitX VR and Supernatural. Best part is you don't have to pay for a subscription plan. So it's a one-time purchase, and it's very similar to FitX VR and Supernatural. So if you know those two games, then you can expect what you're going to get out of Les Mills Body Combat. And this is coming in at second place. In third place, we have Blast On, and this is a game where you're placed in a small little arena with another player or with a bot, and you have guns and weapons that will spawn around you, and you have to use them to your ability to kill your enemy, while at the same time being in the Matrix. Kind of like if you're in Super Hot or Pistol Whip, you get a bunch of these different weapons and gadgets to use that you have to fight in this small little arena. So these are the top 3 fitness games, and I honestly think that whichever one you choose to play, you're going to have a great experience, and you're definitely going to get a workout out of this game. Last but not least, we have the best casual game, and this is pretty subjective, as someone might find a social game to be pretty casual. However, when I refer to casual games, I'm referring to a game that you can sit back and relax and not have to deal with any multiplayer or online. You're just basically single player all the time. And when it comes to being in a single player game, I think Job Simulator and Tetris VR do this the best. Job Simulator is a sandbox game that you can goof off in like a job or work environment. Now this game is pretty goofy, it's pretty hilarious at times, and overall there's a lot of creativity and also a lot of fun things that you can do in this game. It's really up to you if you want to work professionally or if you want to just goof off, up to you completely. And next we have Tetris VR. This is pretty self-explanatory. It's just Tetris but in VR, and there's a bunch of cool visual effects that I highly recommend you check out in this game. So yeah, those are pretty much the 2 games that are really the best casual games that I recommend you check out, and because of this, they're going to earn top 2. There is no doubt that the best musical/rhythm game is Beat Saber. Now this is already a classic. This game has been out for 7 years, and it still is incredibly replayable. There's so many people that I know that are still playing this game in 2025, even if the game released in 2018. It's just that good of a game. It's beginner friendly. It only costs $30. It has a ton of songs built into it, and the DLCs that it has for different types of music packs and songs are actually really well done. You can plug in basically any type of song that you want, and all of the difficulties are well made. All of the levels are well made, and overall it's an absolutely incredible experience. Visual effects, let's just talk about that. That is absolutely amazing. There's practically no other game that beats visual effects than Beat Saber when it comes to musical and rhythm games. And on top of that, sound effects and sound quality is really good. It really immerses you into the music. And while sure, you do have other contenders like Maestro and Pianovision that do an incredibly good job, Beat Saber has been doing an incredible job for already 7 years to come. And there are people who, again, have been playing this game since 2018, since day 1 of it being released up until now. That just shows that Beat Saber has incredible replayability and is still being played and still being bought by many users. It's just a VR classic. I highly recommend try Beat Saber. If you don't want to try that, then I'm going to put second place to Maestro, and it's also an incredible game. I highly recommend you try it out. And in third place is Pianovision for a more realistic musical experience. Not necessarily an entertaining one, just a bit more realistic. So yeah, this is the final verdict, final tier list. Comment down below what you guys think of these rankings. Do you guys agree with my tier list? Do you guys disagree? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, consider dropping the subscribe button and hitting that like button. But anyways, that'll be it from me. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.